The first thing Captain Miles Reed noticed wasn't the silence, it was the screaming. Not from his ship's communications array, which had been broadcasting nothing but static for the past 18 hours. Not from the usual chatter of merchant vessels that should have been crossing the Kepler trading routes. The screaming came from something far more unsettling, the complete and utter absence of the stellar background radiation that had hummed through every ship's sensors for the past 3 centuries of human SPA, CEFLI, G. Space itself had gone quiet. "Captain," Officer Kane called from the navigation station, her voice tight with barely controlled panic. "I'm reading ... nothing. The pulsar networks, the quantum beacons, even the cosmic microwave background, it's all gone dark in a sphere roughly 20 light-years across." Miles gripped the armrests of his command chair, the leather worn smooth by years of his nervous habit. The merchant vessel Persistence had been en route to deliver medical supplies to New Geneva, a thriving human colony on the edge of Terran space. They'd been 3 days out when the communications went silent. Now as they approached the system, the magnitude of what they were facing became clear. "Show me the colony," Miles ordered. The main screen flickered to life, displaying New Geneva's star system. What should have been a bustling hub of activity, orbital stations, mining platforms, the gentle glow of fusion engines from dozens of ships, was empty. Worse than empty. It was as if civilization had simply ... stopped. "Sir," Kane's voice cracked slightly, "I'm detecting something on the colony's surface. It's still there, but ... double quotes, but what? The entire planet is dark. No city lights, no power signatures, no electromagnetic emissions. But the infrastructure is intact. No signs of bombardment, no debris fields. It's like everyone just ... vanished." Miles felt a chill run down his spine. In his 20 years of commanding merchant vessels, he'd seen pirate raids, corporate wars, even the aftermath of alien first contact incidents. But this was different. This felt wrong on a fundamental level. As they drew closer to New Geneva, more details emerged. The colony's 40 million residents had simply disappeared. Their buildings stood untouched, their ships remained docked, their automated systems continued running basic maintenance protocols. But there were no people. No bodies, no signs of struggle or evacuation. And then they found the message. It was buried deep in the colony's emergency broadcast system, timestamp showing it was sent just hours before the silence began. The voice belonged to Dr. Emma Cross, New Geneva's chief xenobiologist, and what she said changed everything Miles thought he knew about humanity's place in the universe. "This is Dr. Cross, broadcasting on all emergency frequencies. We've made contact with something ... older than our galaxy, older than anything we thought possible. They call themselves the Watchers, and they've been observing us since we first looked up at the stars. They're not hostile, they're curious. About us, about what makes humans ... different. Every great bond starts with a single moment of courage. HFY Chronicle Stories is just beginning, and your support matters. If you love emotional sci-fi tales, forbidden connections, and stories that stay with you, hit subscribe. It's free, and it helps us bring more stories from the stars to you." The recording continued, Dr. Cross's voice growing more excited and terrified with each word. "They've been watching countless species across the cosmos for millions of years, waiting for something they call the resonance. They say most species reach a certain level of development, and then ... plateau. They become predictable. Their thoughts following patterns that can be mapped and understood. But humans ... Her voice dropped to barely above a whisper. "Humans are different. Our thoughts create ripples in something they call the quantum consciousness field. We're not just observers of reality, we're actively reshaping it just by existing." The message cut to static, leaving Miles and his crew staring at the empty space where a thriving human colony should have been. "Captain," Kane said softly, "if Dr. Cross was right, if these watchers took the colonists because humans are somehow special ... why did the stars go quiet too?" Miles looked out at the darkness surrounding them, feeling the weight of 40 million missing souls and the terrible suspicion that whatever had happened to New Geneva was just the beginning. In the distance, other star systems were going dark, one by one, creating an expanding sphere of silence that seemed to be following their ship. They weren't just dealing with missing colonists anymore. They were potentially the last witnesses to something that threatened the very fabric of reality itself. The Persistence drifted through the dead system like a ghost ship navigating a graveyard of worlds. Miles had ordered minimal power to avoid detection, though he wasn't sure what they were hiding from. The absence of everything signals radiation, even the subtle gravitational fluctuations that ships created when moving through space, made the silence feel alive, predatory. "Captain," whispered Tom Nash, the ship's engineer, his voice barely audible over the reduced life support systems. "I've been analyzing the quantum resonance patterns Dr. Cross mentioned in her message. I think I understand what happened." Miles turned from the viewport where he'd been staring at New Geneva's lifeless surface. "Explain." Tom's hands shook as he pulled up holographic displays showing complex waveform patterns. "Every sentient species we've encountered, the Altarians, the vegan collective, even the machine intelligences from the Outer Rim, they all think in linear patterns. Cause and effect, action and reaction, logical progressions that can be predicted and modeled." He highlighted a section of the data. "But humans ... we're chaotic. Our consciousness operates on multiple levels simultaneously. We dream while we're awake, we make leaps of intuition that bypass logic entirely. We create art and music and stories that exist purely because we imagine them into being. To an ancient intelligence that's used to predictable thought patterns, we must seem like reality storms." Kane looked up from her station, her face pale. "Are you saying our thoughts are actually changing reality?" "Not changing it," Tom said, his excitement growing despite the circumstances. "We're not gods or anything like that. But we read ... unfiltered. Most species develop mental barriers as they evolve, limitations that keep their consciousness from interfering with the quantum substrate of spacetime. It's probably an evolutionary necessity. Imagine if every random thought could alter physics." Miles felt pieces clicking together, but humans never develop those barriers. "Exactly. We're like children playing with nuclear fusion. We don't even realize we're doing it. Every time a human has a truly original thought, every time we imagine something that's never existed before, we create tiny ripples in the quantum field. Usually, they're too small to matter. But when you get 40 million humans all living and thinking and dreaming in the same area, you get a resonance cascade," Kane finished, understanding dawning in her voice. Tom nodded grimly. "The colonists didn't disappear because they were taken. They disappeared because their collective consciousness became so quantum entangled with local spacetime that they transcended. They became part of the fabric of reality itself." The implications hit Miles like a physical blow. "And the stars going silent? The effect is spreading. Each human colony that gets caught in the resonance cascade adds to the wave. It's not destroying reality, it's upgrading it. But from our perspective, it looks like everything is dying." A new alarm chimed softly. Kane's instruments showed another star system going dark, then another. The wave of silence was accelerating, consuming entire sectors of space at an exponential rate. "How long do we have?" Miles asked. Tom consulted his displays. "At current expansion rate, maybe 6 hours before it reaches Earth." Miles stared at the spreading darkness on their long-range sensors. Humanity's homeworld, with its 8 billion souls, would be next. But was it destruction or evolution? Were they witnessing the end of human civilization, or its ultimate transformation into something beyond their comprehension. "Sir," Kane said quietly, "I'm picking up a transmission. It's coming from everywhere at once." The voice that filled their bridge wasn't quite human anymore, but Miles recognized it immediately. Dr. Emma Cross, speaking from wherever the colonists had gone. Miles read of the merchant vessel Persistence. Her voice seemed to come from the very walls around them. "You're trying to understand what's happening to us. We're still here, but we're also ... more. We can see the patterns now, the beautiful mathematics that underlies everything. Reality isn't breaking, it's finally becoming what it was always meant to be." "Emma," Miles called out, hoping she could hear him. "What about Earth? What about everyone else?" "That's why we need you, Miles. Humans are the catalyst, but the transformation requires choice, conscious choice. Earth's population is too large, too scattered. The resonance cascade would tear them apart before they could adapt. But you ... you and your crew represent something special. You're the bridge between what humanity was and what it can become." Miles looked at his crew, Kane with her steady determination, Tom with his brilliant mind, the 12 others who had signed on for what they thought would be a simple supply run. "What are you asking us to do?" "Return to Earth," warn them. "Help them understand that this isn't an invasion or an attack, it's an invitation. The Watchers have been waiting millions of years for a species like us, one capable of true quantum consciousness. We can join them in shepherding reality itself, helping other species evolve beyond their limitations." The transmission faded, leaving the crew of the Persistence alone with an impossible choice and less than 6 hours to save or doom their entire species. The Persistence streaked through folded space at maximum burn, racing against the expanding wave of transformation that pursued them like a cosmic tsunami. Miles had made the decision to return to Earth within minutes of Dr. Cross's transmission. But now, 3 hours into their desperate journey, he wondered if they were making the right choice. "Quantum wake analysis shows the resonance field is accelerating," Tom reported, sweat beading on his forehead as he worked frantically at his station. "It's not just spreading randomly anymore, it's following us, following our quantum signature." Kane looked up from navigation. "How is that possible?" "Because we're human," Miles said grimly. "We're already connected to whatever the colonists became. The field recognizes us." Through the viewport, space itself seemed different. The stars weren't just disappearing, they were changing, their light shifting through impossible colors that didn't exist in normal spacetime. Reality was becoming more fluid, more responsive to conscious thought. Miles could swear he saw patterns. In the darkness, mathematical structures that hurt to look at directly. "Captain," called Lisa Park, their communications officer, "I'm receiving fragmentary transmissions from Earth. The government's mobilizing every ship they have, trying to evacuate the core worlds. But sir ... they think it's an attack. They're preparing to fight." Miles closed his eyes, feeling the weight of responsibility settle on his shoulders. How do you convince an entire species that evolution disguised as annihilation was actually a gift? How do you explain that their very nature as humans, their creativity, their chaos, their beautiful unpredictability had caught the attention of beings older than galaxies? "Tom, can you establish a quantum link with the colonists? Like Dr. Cross did with us?" Tom's fingers flew over his controls. "I can try, but the bandwidth requirements ... Wait, Captain, I'm detecting something else. There are other ships out here. Human ships, but their quantum signatures are ... different." The main screen shifted to show long-range sensor data. Dozens of vessels were converging on their position from all directions: colony ships, military frigates, even civilian transports. But as they drew closer, it became clear that these weren't normal rescue missions. "They're empty," Kane whispered. "No life signs, but the ships are still functioning." One of the vessels, a massive colony transport called the New Horizon, moved. With impossible grace for something of its size. It approached the Persistence without triggering any collision warnings, as if it existed slightly outside normal space. A new voice filled their bridge. This one belonging to Captain Sarah Chun of the New Horizon, though Miles remembered Chun had died in a mining accident 5 years ago. Miles Reed. The voice was warm, familiar, but carried harmonics that suggested vast depths of consciousness. You're afraid. All humans are when they first encounter the expansion of awareness. But fear is just unfamiliarity with infinite possibility. Shun, how are you? I was chosen earlier. When humans die, sometimes our consciousness lingers in the quantum foam long enough to be collected, preserved. The Watchers have been gathering us for decades, learning from us, preparing for this moment when humanity would be ready to join. The greater community of transcendent minds. More ships appeared around them, each one crewed by humans who had supposedly died years or decades ago. Scientists, explorers, artists, dreamers, all the humans whose consciousness had been deemed worthy of preservation by the ancient Watchers. You're building an army, Miles realized. We're building a family, Chun corrected. Every species the Watchers have encountered has eventually faced this choice. Remain bound by the limitations of individual consciousness, or evolve into something greater. Most choose evolution. But it requires guidance, and for humans, that guidance must come from other humans. Tom was studying his instruments with growing excitement. Captain, the quantum mathematics are incredible. They're not destroying anything. They're revealing the underlying information structure of reality itself. Every atom, every particle, every thought, it's all connected at a level we never imagined. But Earth doesn't know that, Miles said. They'll fight. Billions will die in panic before they understand. That's why we need the Persistence crew, Chun explained. You've seen both sides, now normal human consciousness and the beginning of transcendence. You can serve as translators, helping Earth understand that this isn't conquest but ascension. Kane suddenly gasped, her hands flying to her temples. I can I can feel them, all of them. Every human who's ever been collected by the Watchers. They're all still alive, still thinking, but they're part of something vast and beautiful, and she looked up at Miles with wonder in her eyes. Captain, I can see the patterns now. The math that Tom was talking about. Reality isn't fixed, it's responsive, conscious, and humans. We're the first species the Watchers have found that naturally resonates with that consciousness. We don't just observe the universe, we participate in its thinking. Miles felt something shifting in his own awareness, a growing sense of connection to something infinitely larger than himself. Around them, the emptiness of space was filling with presence millions of human minds that had already made the transition, all of them reaching out with curiosity and love rather than conquest. Earth was still 2 hours away, and the choices they made in that time would determine whether humanity's homeworld faced its evolution with terror or wonder. The transformation was coming, whether they resisted or not. The only question was whether humanity would greet their transcendence as enemies or as family coming home. Earth filled the Persistence's main screen, blue and white and beautiful, surrounded by a defensive grid of military vessels that looked like toys compared to the transcendent fleet following them. Miles could see weapons charging, hear the chatter of panicked communications as Earth's defenders prepared for what they believed would be humanity's final battle. This is Admiral Ross of the Terran Defense Force. A voice crackled through there. Come system. Unknown vessels. You are ordered to halt and identify yourselves immediately. Any further approach will be considered an act of war. Miles activated his transmitter. Admiral, this is Captain Miles Reed of the merchant vessel Persistence. The ships with us aren't enemies, they're human. They're all human. A pause then. Ross's voice returned, tight with disbelief. Captain Reed, our sensors show those vessels are crewed by energy patterns, not life forms. We've lost contact with 17 colony worlds. Whatever's in those ships, it's not human anymore. Kane looked up from her instruments. Sir, I'm reading massive quantum fluctuations around Earth. The planet's electromagnetic field is resonating with human brainwave patterns. 8 billion minds, all unconsciously reaching out, trying to understand what's happening. Tom was practically vibrating with excitement. Captain, this is incredible. Earth's population is so large and diverse that they're creating their own quantum coherence field. They don't need to be transformed from outside. They're on the verge of triggering their own resonance cascade. Through the quantum link they'd established with the transcended humans, Miles could feel Dr. Cross's presence. Miles, you need to understand Earth is special. It's not just humanity's birth world. It's where human consciousness first learned to dream. The quantum resonance here is deeper, more fundamental than anywhere else. If Earth's population ascends all at once, without preparation, what happens? Miles asked aloud. Captain Chun's voice answered from the new horizon. Reality storm. The sudden addition of 8 billion chaotic human minds to the quantum consciousness field would create waves that could destabilize local spacetime. Not just in this system, the effects could ripple across the galaxy. Miles watched as more Terran defense ships moved into position. Thousands of them now, everything from massive dreadnoughts to single-seat fighters. Brave humans preparing to die defending their world from what they saw as an alien invasion. There has to be another way, he said. Tom's hands flew over his controls. Captain, what if we don't try to transform everyone at once? What if we create bridges? Volunteers who can help ease the transition for everyone else. Explain. Look at us. We've been exposed to the quantum resonance for hours now, but we're still basically human, still individual. But we can feel the connection, the expanded awareness. We're becoming living links between normal consciousness and transcendence. Kane nodded, understanding. We could land on Earth, explain what's really happening. Find others who are ready to serve as bridges. Artists, Miles said suddenly. Writers, musicians, dreamers, people who already think outside normal patterns. They'd adapt fastest. Dr. Cross's presence strengthened in his mind. Yes, creative minds are naturally more quantum coherent. They'd be ideal candidates for voluntary transition. Miles made his decision. Tom, can you create a localized resonance field? Something small enough to demonstrate the process without triggering a planet-wide cascade. I think so. If we use the persistence as a focal point, I could generate a field covering maybe a few city blocks. Enough to show Earth's leaders that this isn't destruction, it's enhancement. Do it. Kane, set course for Geneva. If we're going to make first contact with our own species, we might as well do it at the center of human government. As the persistence broke from the transcendent fleet and began its descent toward Earth, Miles could feel the weight of history settling around them. Humanity had always been explorers, pioneers, the species that looked at the impossible and said, why not? Now they faced their ultimate frontier, not the space between stars, but the space between thoughts, the quantum realm where consciousness itself shaped reality. Captain, Lisa called from communications. I'm receiving a transmission from Earth. It's from the International Institute for Theoretical Physics in Geneva. Dr. James Walsh is requesting permission to come aboard. Miles smiled for the first time in hours. Walsh was one of Earth's leading experts on consciousness studies and quantum mechanics. If anyone could understand what they were about to demonstrate, it would be him. Grant permission. Tell Dr. Walsh he's about to witness the next stage of human evolution. As the persistence settled into Earth's atmosphere, surrounded by nervous military escorts, Miles could feel millions of minds reaching out in curiosity and fear. The quantum field around Earth was growing stronger by the minute, fed by the collective emotions of 8 billion humans facing the unknown. The transformation was inevitable now. The only question was whether it would happen in terror or in wonder. And that choice rested with the crew of a simple merchant vessel and the faith they could inspire in their own species. The stars had gone silent, but Earth was about to sing with a voice that would reshape reality itself. Dr. James Walsh stood on the bridge of the Persistence, his weathered face reflecting the wonder and terror that Miles had felt hours earlier when he first understood the truth. Around them, Geneva spread out like a jewel, its lights twinkling. In the gathering dusk, as millions of people looked up at the ships hanging in their sky. "The mathematics are elegant," Walsh whispered, studying Tom's quantum resonance displays. "Consciousness as a fundamental force, like gravity or electromagnetism. We always wondered why human thought seemed to influence quantum experiments at the observer level. Now I understand we're not just observing reality, we're co-creating it." Kane monitored the city below through the ship's sensors. "Sir, the localized field is stabilizing. 3 city blocks in the University District are now quantum coherent with our consciousness network." "What does that mean for the people down there?" Miles asked. "They're still themselves," Tom explained, "but they can feel the connection now. They understand what we're offering." Through the quantum link, voices began reaching them from the affected area. "Professor Lisa Martinez from the university's philosophy department. I can see the patterns, the beautiful underlying structure of thought itself. Dr. Robert Kim from the quantum physics lab. The universe is conscious, and we're its neurons firing. Artist and writer Emma Thompson. Every story ever told, every song ever sung, they're all part of a vast narrative that reality is telling about itself." Walsh turned to Miles, his eyes bright with possibility. "Captain, can you expand the field gradually? Let people choose whether to join the network?" "That's the plan. But first, we need to convince Earth's governments that we're not invaders." As if summoned by his words, Admiral Ross's voice crackled through their communications. "Captain Reed, Geneva Control, is reporting unusual readings from the University District. Citizens claiming they can feel other minds. What have you done?" Miles activated the main screen, showing the view of Earth from orbit where the transcended fleet waited patiently among the stars. "Admiral, I've given them a glimpse of what humanity is becoming. We're not being conquered. We're being invited to join something magnificent." Dr. Cross's consciousness touched his mind, accompanied by the warm presence of millions of transformed humans. "Miles, it's time. Earth is ready. Can you feel it?" He could. The quantum field generated by 8 billion human minds was reaching critical resonance. Dreams and nightmares, hopes and fears, the collective unconscious of the entire species swirling together in patterns of impossible beauty. Earth wasn't just humanity's birth world, it was the crucible, where human consciousness had first learned to reach beyond the boundaries of individual minds. "Tom, expand the field, slowly, carefully. Let it wash over the planet like dawn breaking." The Persistence became a focal point for transformation, its quantum resonance field expanding outward in gentle waves. As it touched each human mind, it offered a choice: remain as they were, or step forward into expanded awareness. What amazed Miles was how many chose to step forward. Artists and writers were first, their naturally chaotic thought patterns adapting quickly to the quantum coherence. Then scientists and philosophers, their minds already comfortable with concepts that transcended normal logic. But the real surprise came from children, their consciousness not yet bound by adult limitations. They joined the network with joyful ease. "Captain," Kane reported, her voice filled with wonder, "I'm reading mass coherence events in major cities worldwide. London, Tokyo, New York, São Paulo, everywhere the field touches, humans are choosing to connect." Through the expanding network, Miles could feel Earth's transformation. Not the violent reality storm they'd feared, but a gradual awakening, like a vast mind slowly opening its eyes after eons of sleep. Individual humans retained their personalities, their memories, their essential selves, But now they were part of something infinitely larger, the defensive fleet around. Earth slowly powered down their weapons as their crews joined the network and understood the truth. Admiral Ross's voice, when it came again, carried harmonics of expanded consciousness. Captain Reed, I can feel them now. All of humanity, stretching back through time and forward into possibility. We're not just a species, we're a symphony of consciousness. Dr. Walsh had tears streaming down his face as he experienced the scope of human potential. The Watchers were right to choose us. We're not just observers of reality, we're its artists, its poets, its dreamers made manifest. From orbit, the transcended fleet began descending toward Earth, not as conquerors but as family returning home. Ships crewed by humans who had died decades ago landed in major cities, their inhabitants stepping out to embrace loved ones who thought they'd lost them forever. Dr. Cross materialized on the bridge of the Persistence, her form shifting between human and something more ethereal. Thank you, Miles, all of you. You helped humanity choose evolution over extinction, wonder over fear. Miles looked out at Earth, now glowing with the soft light of 8 billion minds connected in harmony with the quantum consciousness field. Humanity had joined the Watchers' ancient network, becoming shepherds of reality itself. They would help guide other species through their own transformations, sharing the chaos and creativity that made consciousness truly alive. What happens now? He asked. Emma smiled, her presence encompassing the love and curiosity of every human who had ever looked up at the stars and wondered. Now, Miles, we explore. Not just space, but the infinite realms of consciousness itself. We help other species discover their own potential for transcendence. We become gardeners of possibility, nurturing reality into ever greater expressions of beauty and wonder. The stars, which had gone silent as humanity transformed, began singing again, but now their song included human voices, adding chaos and creativity to the cosmic symphony. Earth had become the newest note in a composition that spanned galaxies, and humanity's unique gift to the universe was just beginning to unfold. The colony had gone silent, the stars had followed, but in that silence, humanity had found its voice at last.